Thank you very much for staying tuned to Development Focus with Jide Ojo on ITV. My name is Jide Ojo. Please don't forget you can do business with us on this show. We are open up for advert placement and sponsorship. My second guest, yeah, maybe I should say our next discussion segment, I have my guest already seated. She's Lois Chinedu. She's a gender and inclusivity expert. And she'll be talking to us about resource mobilization for female politicians who are aspiring to contest election, whether in the off-cycle or by-election or the general elections. She will walk us through what we need to know. Very useful tips. It's been said time and again that, because women don't have money, that's why they don't win elections. That's why we have very poor representation in the national and state houses of assembly. You are welcome to the show, Lois. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
That's still not, I guess.
Oh, yes.
Lois, a bit about you. What did you study?
Okay, I studied social work and social administration.
Interesting. And you've put in some 9 years into development sector. Yes. Tell us a bit more about that. Where have you worked and what have you done? Okay,
it's actually due to passion that I found myself in the development sector. I started off from the educational field, did that for about 3 years and didn't find... No, was not a teacher. I worked with an NGO that provided services for schools.
Oh, okay.
That was actually where I started my work at into development. And then I did that for about 3 years, moved on into a DFID-funded project, Voices for Change, where we also had a lot of outputs, but my output was specifically focused on women's political participation. And I think that's where I actually got entrenched. I loved the kind of work that we did to encourage more women. And then I did that too for approximately 3 years, moved on to the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, which is an organization that is wholly responsible and is interested in seeing that women move along the ranks of governance. Did that for 3.5 years, and currently I consult for organization on gender issues.
You're a big-time consultant now. So what's your love with 333? Is this deliberate that you just want to change status after 3 years or what?
No, so the first one, after 3 years, I wanted something more intense, something more focused on women. So that's why I got into DFIDV for Voices for Change. But for Voices for Change, the project was for 5 years. I joined after 2 years. And so the project ended after 3 years, of course. So I had to move on, and I got into the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. So I've been into the Nigerian Women Trust Fund for over 3 years. And it's not because I'm just, interested in doing it 3 years and then moving on. But you know what they say, when you feel that you need to move on to other things, then you know when the time is right.
Okay, the time is right for her to move into the big time consultancy. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Tell us, you've had wide range of experience over the last 6 years working with women on women issue, gender, and what have you observed as being the major impediments to women participation in politics and governance?
Amongst other things that we all know, I think the core or the issue that most female politicians will tell you is the issue of finance. And of course, we understand where that's coming from. Most women are just, getting on the ranks of, having resources of their own. We know how patriarchy has also played a role and all of that. But I think more than all the other issues we've seen, including violence against women in politics, most female politicians will tell you that finance is a core challenge. And you wouldn't blame them, because we also know how expensive it is to contest for elections in Nigeria. Elections in Nigeria are deeply, money consuming. So for women to tell you that finance is an issue, of course is an issue, because when we did sort of a campaign finance tracking in some elections, specifically governorship elections in Kano State, in Oyo State, we realized that an average, an average male politician was expending over 8 billion, for governorship elections alone.
8 billion?
Yes, for governorship elections alone, because they won't tell you these are the funds, but of course, we had tracked this using other methods, including, media, the kind of campaign instruments they use and all of that. And how many women have that, amount of money to throw into politics? Of course, we realized that when the male opponents were using between 5 to 8 million, most women were within the million range. So, for example, we had a female candidate just expending above 3 million. And so if you check the gap, the indices are clear.
Okay, but Matthew, political parties have done a lot to encourage women.
Yeah.
I recall that some political parties will even say they are giving free nomination form for women. I think PDP says women should just pay expression of interest form.
Yeah.
So if they, like in the forthcoming governorship election in Ekiti and Osun State, let's assume that, I don't know how much PDP is charging, but I know for APC it's 22.5 million.
Exactly.
So they will just say, okay, if the expression of interest form is 2.5 million, just pay that and forget about nomination. That's PDP.
Yeah.
For APC, they will say, come and pay 50%. Don't you think that's a very good way to encourage women participation in politics?
Well, it's a good way, but not completely good, because what we've also seen, or what we have observed on the field, is that most times when there are concessions and then there are, free forms given to women, what we also see happening is that the parties are interested in making money. So, of course, you've been given free form, but of course, all the other things that needs to be done needs money, to survive. So the party is interested in also making up, funds for themselves and then supporting a candidate that is viable and has money. So what you end up seeing is that they've given you free form and then you're on your own. But of course, for the candidate who has the money to pay for the form, the party throws its weight to that candidate because they also are interested in making money for themselves. So I have given you a free form, and then we also have 10 other men who are contesting and have bought that same form for 22.5 million naira. So what are you thinking would happen? Of course, the party is looking out for candidates that they feel that when they also get to the field, they are throwing their weights behind them and then they are making, more money for themselves. So it's not completely a bad idea, but for those who have participated effectively, they've also said it's not usually the best. And they would rather that instead of parties to give them, minimal amounts of money for forms or give them free forms, they should rather reduce the amount of money that is gotten from nomination forms so that they can also pay and be considered equitable, opponents on the field.
Okay, so let's go into the main discussion. Given your wealth of experience in managing women campaign, in managing female politicians under different platforms, from Voices for Change to Nigeria Women Trust Fund, what are the resource mobilization strategies that you think women can engage to make their campaign viable and to make their chances of winning at election to enhance their chances at winning at elections, even when they get the nomination of their parties?
Thank you very much. So the basic thing is, for anybody who is planning to contest elections, if you're planning to contest election as a female in this case, either in 2023 or in the off-cycle election, that it's expected that you have started mapping out your campaign strategy right now in terms of resource mobilization. And I would say the first thing you need to do is treat a campaign as a business. Even the men who contest elections have already started their plans right from when we concluded elections in 2019. You need to first of all write out your finance plan, because you cannot say, I am planning to contest an election in 2023, and at this time you don't know how much averagely it will cost you to run through the process of campaign and then win your elections. So the first thing you need to do is to write it out. You need to document it. What and what do you need? How do you need to go about it? Who are the people that you need to get into, your team? So once you've done that, the next thing you would do is to look out for ways to state the fundraising goal or the campaign goal. So how much is it? How much will it cost me to become a governor? How much will it cost me to become a member of House of Rep? The easiest way to do is to look at past elections and then look at geopolitical zone. How much on an average will it cost, even if it's a male, to get into that position? That's where you start from. And then if you're going for a position that already has an incumbent, that has not lost election in some years, then it means that you know that your competition is tough. So what you need to do is to also find out what it will cost you to contest for a competitive election. When you find out that amount of money, you write it down, because that then states your budget. It's from there now that you could decide to add either a 10%, a 20%, and know how you can take it forward. But one key thing you need to realize is that if you do not map this out early on, then it seems like you will be telling yourself you have money, and along the way you will realize that the money you have may only get you forms and then nothing else. When you're done with that, you also need to identify your finance team. So you need to have a team of persons. It could be friends, relatives, colleagues that you know would support you in this process. You should have written them down by now. And if you've not done it, now is a good start. When you have that down, the team will then help you to look out for researches. So, for example, you don't have the amount of money that a candidate will spend on the field. But of course, you have organizations like the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, PLAC, that has done a lot of research in this area. So you can get some of these resources online. And then it helps you to set the pace going. When you have done that, the next thing you want to do is to identify your fundraising tactics. So what do you want to do? How do you want to get this money? Do you want to just reach out to people? Do you just want to send direct support mail? Do you want to organize fundraising events? These are the things that you need to map out. And the reason why I'm saying you need to write them down is because it helps in your planning. And then it shows you the stage you are at and then how you should proceed. When that is done, you now decide on your fundraising target. So who are they? So, for example, you're looking at your close friends. So you have the inner circle network, family friends who would support your cause. You also have colleagues and professional friends who will support your cause. Those are the first set of people you need to reach out to support you. But remember that you cannot be telling them to support you when you don't have a goal. So you are telling them the amount you are looking forward to receiving, and then you are telling them how much you've been able to raise from your friends and family. Then you're also telling them how much you are expecting them to donate to your cause. When you're done with your inner circle, you move to what we call the ideological donors. So those are the people who believe in your ideas. They know what you are bringing to the table and they are interested in it. These people could be anywhere. So why I said you need to have a finance team is because it's your finance team that will help you identify who this group of people are and then how you should pursue them. Once you're done, the next thing you want to do is to look out for the anti-opponents. So we all know, whether you like it or not, there are people who are either in support or not in support of the government in power. So if you're going for a position, there are people who we call anti-opponents, who are not just interested in what these people are doing. You need to reach out to this group of people. Then the next thing you now need to do after you've met in this same category is now the group of people we call the power circle. And the power circle is what we would normally say is your pata of them all, because they are the ones you have in professional bodies, businesses. And this group of people will not support you earlier on. Please take note of this. They will support you along the way when they have seen the efforts that you have put and the caliber of people that you have behind you. And then also know that even if the power circle are supporting maybe an incumbent, they could also support you because they don't want to lose on both ends of the stick. So the target is to ensure that while you're going to them, you're also offering what you would do for them. Remember that this is a relationship and nobody gives you money. It's investment. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Sometimes as women, where we've made mistake in the past is to believe that people give us charity. No one is giving you charity. Please, let's take note of this. Nobody's giving you charity. They are making investments. And when they make investments, it could be because they are looking at your policies, the ideas you have. It's something that they would be able to benefit from. And once they see that there are things that resonate with them, they are willing to support you. When you have identified these people, then you begin to fundraise. So you can decide to fundraise through events. You can decide to solicit through emails, whichever way you can decide. But you need to have a calendar the group of people you're meeting, how you're going to meet them, and then how to continue. Once you have done all of this process, the trick is to start again from the beginning.
Okay, so but is everything all about money? What about leveraging on your goodwill and social capital? What does that do for you as a female aspirant?
So, of course, when you talk about resource mobilization, it's not only money. Of course, we also know about human resources, which is why I said the first set of people that will even support you should be friends, family, professional colleagues, or people that, you know, have seen you and know what you represent. Those group of people may not have money to give you, but of course, they might have friends who can support you.
Volunteers.
Exactly, and they can volunteer their time to also support you to, you know, raise funds.
They can also put their resources at your disposal, their vehicles,
exactly,
their houses, if they are to events planning, they have a hall, they can give you for meetings and all of that. Anyway, we will still bring you back. Time is not our friend on this, but I want to thank you very sincerely, Lois Chinedu, for this ESOP for female political aspirants. If you are there, you want to contest in 2023, don't think the time is still far. No. We still have 1 year, 300 and something days. The time to start is now. She has told you a consultancy advice that you need financial plan. So don't just think a contested election is very easy. Even with all the money in this world, you still need a plan.
Yeah.
You still need to have a finance plan, finance team, contact and mobilization meeting, the people who help you reach out to the media to market you, and all of that. Anyway, thank you very much again, Lois, for coming on the show. We really do appreciate. We'll be back in a bit for the next segment, where we'll be talking about FCT elections that is coming up in about 2 weeks' time.